Hello, this is Baron von Richthofen. I'm really excited to have a match here. It's between Phaeton Gaming and Fnatic, and it's part of the Cyber Sports Network tournament that was just held. It was casted by Forecourt Jester and Elaine Sun, and they did a fantastic job. Fortunately, I get to cast the gems in the rough, the ones that did not make the stream. So, let's look at Phaeton Gaming. They have Amumu in the jungle. Mordekaiser is going to be taking a solo with Caitlyn and Alistar bot lane, and Vlad also taking a solo. So very interesting. They have two really strong AP ability power champions in their solo lanes. But the big thing with Mordekaiser and Vladimir is they're very similar champions. They're high sustain. They're not the strongest early game. They're both very weak the first couple of levels. But once they get a little bit of sustain, they both are probably going to want the Hextech Revolver. They can really just dominate their lane, and they both become, uncontrollable if you let them get that kind of early advantage. On the other side, we see that Irelia is going to be top lane with Karthus mid, Gangplank in the jungle, and Sona and Kog'Maw bot. So a little bit more standard team. Karthus is definitely kind of an unstoppable force as it approaches late game. Once Karthus has lots of damage and some survivability, he's just going to be throwing out lots of AoE. He does have the ultimate. Can really be a scary premise for any team to face. But as we go on, it should be interesting to also see how Irelia fares top with the teleport. And if we see Fnatic taking some early aggression because they know that, Mordekaiser isn't a very mobile champion, so Irelia can potentially join the team for early dragon fights and early pushes. And then Gangplank with his strong ganks, that'll also be something to watch, because, as I've said, Mordekaiser and Vladimir are both very weak early. Gangplank should really factor in a lot, especially top lane, which I'm assuming Mordekaiser will be top, though Mordekaiser might be mid, actually. It should be also interesting to note that, again, I've said Vladimir is weak early. Most casting champions, most magic champions, are stronger in lane early. Karthus is not one of them. If he hits you with his Qs, then you will die very quickly. Yes, he's very strong from that regard. But they're generally difficult to hit. He doesn't have the easiest harass. More standard casters like Brand, like Annie, really do a much better job against Vladimir. So it would have been interesting to note what the bans were. So I am a little surprised to see Karthus, but definitely a strong champion, and he can help his team with early aggression. They do have the two global ultimates. They should watch out here because they're probably okay, to be perfectly honest. They do have a stronger level 1 than the enemy team. Caitlyn should be getting some traps in this brush. She has not, but they should be okay. The enemy team would be pretty foolish to come after them, actually, because they do have Caitlyn and Alistar. But aside from Caitlyn and Alistar, Mordekaiser, Amumu, and Vlad are all weak champions early, so they're fortunate to have the strength of those two. And it'll be interesting to see how they can kind of control bot, because Kog'Maw and Sona is kind of a ranged harass, very safe kind of lane, whereas Caitlyn and Alistar is a very aggressive lane. They want to try and get in and get some kills. Gangplank does have cloth, and you saw he was starting at blue, so he will just do a standard jungle. Knowing that it's Amumu, Gangplank doesn't have enough time to steal Wraiths. They did CV here. Sometimes you'll see enemy junglers be really aggressive and go for the Wraiths, but Amumu generally is fast enough, and Gangplank isn't really that fast of a jungler, that isn't really an issue. If Gangplank was coming over to steal, then Amumu would probably catch him and get an early kill. It'll be very important for Irelia to try and get some early harass onto Vladimir. She does have only 1 health pot to Vladimir's 3, so that is kind of an advantage for Vladimir. But Vladimir's transfusion, his Q ability, doesn't have enough lane sustain early. So if they can get some harass, especially with the Gangplank ult top, that should really benefit them. And you see Gangplank is actually doing his red. He actually stopped doing the red, so he must have been pretty low. Maybe he was just kind of testing the waters, see if he could do it, and realized that he was not going to be able to. So Gangplank didn't even get level 4. He didn't finish his golems, which is surprising, but you see Gangplank actually peeking down mid. He faked a teleport when they were CVing him. And he actually might have stayed to do golems, and I would actually expect that. And he is actually coming on mid, very aggressive. The Karth wall goes off, misses Mordekaiser, but the Q from Gangplank will slow him down. Mordekaiser flashed over the wall. Gangplank flashed over the wall, trying to catch up to him. Karthus is still behind. If Karthus gets to the wall, he is just out of range. Mordekaiser stopped for a second. Very unusual. Karthus is going to hit him with a couple of these dots. Gangplank taking a lot of damage from the towers, and they are able to get the kill onto Gangplank. Amumu's going to try and do some damage. Karthus has taken 2 hits from the tower, so he's probably pretty low, because Karthus is a very low champion early on. Amumu doesn't have his bandage toss yet because he is too low level. So right off the bat, you see the low mobility and weakness of Mordekaiser countered by the aggression of Gangplank, and they've really done a good job. Fnatic was the top team from DreamHack. They did take home the League of Legends $100,000 prize, so definitely a team to be feared. And the Mumu, I'm a little surprised. He was behind in level. I don't know if that level is accurate. There we go. He just jumped to level 4, so I guess the levels aren't showing up accurately. And Kog'Maw chasing down and flashing after Caitlyn. Actually, he throws the exhaust. Caitlyn throws the counter exhaust. Wow, Alistar flashing in to get that pulverized, just barely out of range. Did not get Karthus. He was trying to knock her back into the tower. Cog was saying that there were 2 dodges on Caitlyn. I didn't see them. I thought it was from exhaust, but maybe she hit those dodges and got really lucky there. Definitely, to Cog's advantage. Though Alistar almost picking up the kill. He will headbutt Sona off of him. He is going to be very weak in lane until Caitlyn comes back. And here you see one of the great strengths of Mordekaiser, and also a trap that a lot of people fall into. Mordekaiser, as a champion, he's fantastic at clearing out creep waves, and so he can push up to the enemy tower, he can clear the lane creeps very easily, and then go steal the enemy wraiths, and then later on actually go steal his own wraiths, and as a result Mordekaiser will have usually the highest CS in the game. The pulverize does go off from Alistar, and the Q hits Kog'Maw. They do get some good harass there. So anyway, Mordekaiser will generally have very high farm, but a lot of times people don't recognize it is very good to go after the wraiths, and it's definitely something you want to try and do. But a lot of people don't recognize how dangerous a position this is if you don't have vision of this brush here. The enemy jungler oftentimes can come up and sneak up behind you and then pinch you with the mid, and you have no escape route. So Mordekaiser doing a good job there. He wanted to go after the wraiths and really aggressively farm and take advantage of his lane, but he asked for his support to CV for him so that he knew he would be safe while doing it. Irelia flashing in on top of that. She is throwing off the ultimate, getting a ton of damage. Vladimir hasn't pulled yet. He throws the ultimate and the ignite off. Irelia is getting very low. They both flash after each other. Irelia just barely being able to get out, but the Karth assault's coming off onto Vladimir, and Vladimir pulls. He hadn't used his pull yet. He did a very good job holding on to it. So Karthus, the whole ult was kind of negated there. Excellent job, but Irelia is actually coming back on. They're both very low health. Karthus Vlad doesn't have his pull, and so he does go down to Irelia. And Irelia definitely doing a good job. She is level 6 and Vlad is level 6. I'm not sure why these levels aren't showing correctly, but not that big of a deal. We'll work with it. But she she recognized that Vlad's damage was mostly down. She probably regened a little bit with her health potions, and she'd already used her ultimate. So she went in while Vlad is still very weak in lane. Don't let Vlad get that advantage, and Cog's coming in after Caitlyn. She will use her net to get out of there. And the ult and the ignite from Mordekaiser and the bandage toss from Mumu is able to pick up the kill onto Karthus. What are Karthus' runes and masteries? He's just going a standard caster with flash and ignite, so lots of damage. A lot of times you'll see Karthus run revive teleport, which is really just a nasty thing to lane against, and they would have to back up now, but they are going to get a lot of damage onto this turret. They probably are going to have to back out, but still, the next time Karthus dies or someone leaves the lane, this turret's probably at around 1,000 HP. They will be able to take it very easily. As we take a look at some of the CS, I have a feeling that Fnatic is winning bot lane. You see 55 CS to 51 for Caitlyn, so it's actually pretty even. Kog'Maw is at a slight advantage. He has been very aggressive on this Caitlyn, but Caitlyn is doing a good job keeping herself farmed at this moment. Everyone pretty even CS. The only difference is that Irelia is really taking advantage of top lane and the early weakness of Vlad. This is starting to get in the point. He doesn't have his Hextech yet, almost to the point where Vlad can sustain himself well enough. But at the moment, you know, the 55 CS for Irelia and only 40 CS for Vlad, and it's quite possible that CS is inaccurate for Irelia since she's on the enemy team. They did see Gangplank mid. He did come in for a gank on Mordekaiser a little bit ago, so Vlad will be okay for a second. And one of the benefits to being purple team is really just this one ward here and one ward here, and they have complete control of the top. He will need to watch out that Gangplank doesn't come up the lane and come into the brush here and gank from the brush, but for the moment they're okay, and they do see Gangplank is near mid. Because Gangplank's near the top, if they had a stronger Dragon jungler, that actually would be a pretty nice time to get Dragon. But Amumu is very weak with the Dragon. He does die very quickly, and Mordekaiser is actually being chased down by Gangplank, but the counter flash in from Amumu, he picks up Karthus with the ult. They are chasing down after Gangplank. Mordekaiser does not have his ultimate, but they will take some damage, and they will get out of there. They're both very low, and the Ghost from Karthus is chasing after him. He's going to throw the damage onto Gangplank, use that Ghost to get the kill, and they are able to pick up the double kill on the counter gank, and that's really, you see the great ward coverage. As I said, Gangplank really can't walk anywhere in this top half of the map without them seeing him. And so Amumu recognized that usually people are at their weakest when ganks are happening, because you know, you kind of are ganking, you expect you to be at the strongest point. You expect to be taking the enemy off guard, and so Amumu really took advantage of that. Beautiful flash in. He actually hit the bandage toss and then flashed so that he could hit both of them with his ultimate and be better positioned. And you will see Amumu does have 2 gold per 5 items, definitely a strong build on Amumu. He doesn't need to get cloth armor early, as most junglers do, since he really doesn't benefit from it ever since they removed the cloth from the Heart of Gold. You know, so many patches ago. It's probably like 10 patches ago now. It seems so recent. Caitlyn getting some good free farm time bot. Hopefully Alistar has a bunch of wards. He does have at least one. He has 3 wards, so good job. I was a little concerned because we haven't seen a lot of ward coverage bot. They were pushed up to their tower though, so they were safe this whole time because Kog was being so aggressive. But they haven't had vision of Dragon. They haven't had vision of this bot lane to see if Gangplank was being really aggressive now. They should be okay for Dragon. Gangplank hasn't really had a chance. They've had enough vision to see him there. And Irelia coming in onto Vlad. She does throw off the stun. He will take some damage, but he is okay, and he will heal very quickly with that Hextech. Irelia probably has a ward top. She does have one in her inventory, so she might not have placed it yet, but I'm assuming she has a ward top and does know that Amumu's there. And Sona getting very low from the great ranged harass of Caitlyn. They did see that Gangplank was bot lane. He didn't have red yet, so he is coming over to take his red buff. So they know they have a second, but then he really has to watch out. Okay, Gangplank would have been very close at that time. He does get a ward in this tri-brush, which is a great job, and again, just fantastic ward coverage by Phaeton Gaming. You see they have 5 wards right now. They have complete control of this map. It's a pretty even game right now, but they are slightly in the lead. Mordekaiser is going to take a lot of damage on this tower. No one's there to stop it. Gangplank was closer to bot than he was to mid. Irelia was probably top, and Mordekaiser's able to pick up the tower, so excellent job. And once you get one tower, it's usually pretty easy to kind of cycle around and take advantage of more. And you actually saw Irelia had to teleport top to prevent damage from her tower, so if you can get a laner to recall and then teleport to their own lane, now Irelia can't use that teleport in an aggressive manner and force a fight at Dragon, so they again, Phaeton Gaming will be at the advantage there for when they decide to take Dragon. Amumu does get very low health when he's taking Dragon, so that is a concern, but Gangplank being very aggressive, coming up through the jungle. Sona does ult onto Alistar, but they are just out of range, playing, you know, very defensively, but Alistar didn't have to use his ultimate, and he will be able to kind of counter any push on them. And Amumu doing exactly what he needs to be doing. The number one thing that a lot of people need to kind of recognize, especially with the jungle, is when you see the enemy jungler ganking a lane or something, you don't need your immediate gut reaction is, oh my god, I gotta help them, I've gotta go save them. And really actually throwing the stun onto Vladimir. The ultimate and ignite going off. Both of them flash, and Vladimir is able to pick up the kill. Gangplank trying to throw off his slow, but it was too late. But anyway, kind of your immediate gut reaction is, oh my god, how can I help? If Gangplank's bot, I've got to help bottom because they're going to push bottom. Well, Amumu, definitely the smart play there.